There was nothing indicating why I'm suspended, and left me the whole weekend, I want to say, kind of like shooken, a bit hurt.
This former culinary instructor says his employer suspended him after publicly criticizing Israel's siege of Gaza. Chef Bashir Meunier worked at George Brown College in Toronto for 7 years. The college put him on paid leave in November while investigating 2 complaints over one of his Instagram posts. Meunier is among several Canadians who say they were suspended or lost their jobs after publicly sharing pro-Palestinian comments. We spoke with lawyers to get their perspective, but first, let's talk about what happened to Meunier. In an email seen by the CBC, George Brown said Meunier used offensive language in one of his posts. He says the college didn't tell him which post it was investigating or which part was offensive. But in his last post about the war before he was put on leave, he used the phrase, "from the river to the sea," and the words genocide and apartheid to describe the Israeli government's actions against Palestinians.
I spent the whole weekend a combination between hurt, puzzled, shocked, disbelief, disappointed, and a bit frightening.
We asked the college to clarify which of Meunier's posts were against the college's policies, and if he was able to explain himself before he was put on leave. The school didn't specify, but said what happened was in line with its process for investigating complaints. George Brown concluded that Meunier did not violate any of their policies. Every case is different, but 3 Ontario-based lawyers who spoke to CBC say people are getting in trouble for speaking out in support of Palestinians or criticizing Israel. They say they haven't seen the same kind of complaints from people supporting Israel. One lawyer told us she posted on LinkedIn offering legal aid to people who are facing discipline for speaking out about Palestine. She received up to 300 calls.
I did not expect this many people to need assistance.
The lawyers say, while those who publicly support Israel may not be seeking legal advice to the same degree as people who support Palestinians, some are still feeling threatened or unsupported in the workplace.
I've certainly seen stories of people who have chosen to leave jobs where they say, like, I don't feel supported as an Israeli or as a Jewish person. I don't feel safe. I don't feel comfortable with statements the organization I work for has made.
Just 2 weeks after putting him on leave, George Brown said Meunier could return to teaching, but ultimately he declined. He also hired a lawyer to figure out his next steps. The lawyers we interviewed said social media outrage is playing a big role in how employers or institutions react. They say people are using platforms such as X to call out and dox people who share pro-Palestinian views.
I'm not seeing people making what I would consider hate speech or discriminatory speech. Statements in support of Palestinian freedom, calling for a ceasefire, being critical of Israel, are being labeled as anti-Semitic and as supporting terrorism.
Nearly 650 lawyers, law students, and professors across Canada have signed an open letter to Canada's legal community. That includes the 3 lawyers we interviewed. They note a chilling effect on free expression in the legal community since the outbreak of violence that started on October 7th. The letter also alleges that some in the profession are contacting the employers of lawyers and encouraging they be fired for their pro-Palestinian advocacy. A similar statement from the BC Civil Liberties Association expressed concerns about a chilling effect on free expression in support of Palestinians. One of the lawyers who spoke with CBC suggested workers demand that their employers clearly state their expectations for what the employees can and cannot say.
There is room for collective action. The professions that I represent are all self-regulated. Members have the opportunity to be in dialogue with the regulatory bodies and with each other to talk about what sort of action is acceptable and what's not.